Good evening, it's Freddie Vasquez. Basement Politics Unfiltered tonight. CPS, family courts, and the foster care system, specifically law guardians. Let's talk about it. Good evening, it's Freddie Vasquez. Basement Politics Unfiltered tonight. Let's talk about CPS, the family courts, and the foster care system. I want to focus on law guardians. Talk a little bit about that. Are you having issues with CPS, law guardians, corrupt judges? Many people seem to be having this problem. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Tonight, I want to start the first episode of a series that I'm going to be doing on CPS, the family courts, and the foster care system. And we're going to be discussing child trafficking, pedophilia, and the connections that many people across the country, but even here in Westchester County and specifically Yonkers, are starting to connect to the whole CPS foster care system. They're saying it's like child trafficking. They're stealing kids. The foster care system deals in children. So I'm going to be having guests come on the show, parents who've lost their kids, even adults who have been awarded to in the custody of a law guardian, right? Like kind of like the Britney Spears situation where she had a guardian assigned to the court, and how corrupt they are and what they do to people's lives once this happens. And so many are saying that these judges in family court and these law guardians are corrupt and in cahoots. And I'll explain a little bit more why. And tomorrow I will be having my first guest come on. And she has a great, no, I don't say great, but it's just an amazing, interesting horror story, because it is horror. She went through, she's going through still hell. So tonight, again, I want to continue with my CPS family court and foster care system series. Tonight, I wanted to give a background, talk a little bit about CPS, right, and the agencies that are, foster care, CPS, family courts, and give a brief history, talk about how they are connected. I'm going to break down how they operate, and according to many, collude to steal children from their families. However, it's not just children who have been abused by the mechanisms designed to protect them, right? It's also adults as well who have been somehow stripped of their personal and civil rights and placed into the ownership, if you will, of private profiteering attorneys called law guardians. What is a law guardian? I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, CPS, or Child Protective Services, and I've had my experiences with that, and I've talked about that. A brief background. In 1692, this goes back that far, states and municipalities identified care for abused and neglected children. They identified it as the responsibility of local government and private institutions, which may have been a mistake. In 1825, states enacted laws giving social welfare agencies the right to remove neglected children from their parents and the streets, right? And they placed them into orphanages and with families. 10 years later, the Humane Society founded the National Federation of Child Rescue Agencies to investigate child maltreatment. And then in the late 19th century, private child protection agencies modeled after existing animal protection organizations developed to investigate reports of child maltreatment, present cases, and advocate for the welfare of welfare legislation. I thought that was interesting. They were modeled after existing animal protection organizations, these children protection agencies, right, that were there now to advocate, present cases, and fight for child welfare legislation. Shouldn't it be the other way around? right? Isn't that strange, right? They molded it after animal protection organizations. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Animal protection agencies were molded after child protection agencies. Did they care more about animals back then? Is that why they maybe treat some of the people like animals? And that's what they've said, that they've been treated, horribly by this whole system, this whole, ecosystem of child trafficking, I think, from what I've been researching and from the people I've been talking about to. In 1853, the Children's Aid Society. Anybody remember that? I'm really glad they made the Children's Aid Society. I used to love that song. I don't know why. It was founded in response to New York City's abandoned children, placing them in foster care rather than institutionalizing them. Fast forward to 1980, Congress passed the first comprehensive Federal Child Protection Services Act, the Adoption and the Welfare Act of 1980. It focused on family preservation efforts. Yeah, according to some of the people I'm going to be speaking with, that's a lie, right? It focused on family preservation efforts to help keep families together and children out of foster care. But many are saying it's actually the opposite, that it's removing children from families unnecessarily and putting them into foster care, even when there are family members available to take in the children. They're still refusing to put them with family and putting them into foster care, right? The CPS is partly funded by the federal government. Child Protective Services, the PC or CPS agencies, were first established in response to the 1974 CAPTA, which mandated all states to investigate suspected incidents of child maltreatment. So that really ushered in the CPS era that we see now. There were some other legislations and other things, acts, but I just want to talk about the main ones. But from my research, because I've been through it and I spoke about this, I don't want to go through it too much again. 84% of CPS reports are false. People use it as a weapon. So if you got a problem with somebody, some people will say, you know what? I know them. I know where they live. I'm going to call CPS. And that was done a lot, and it may still be done a lot now. I'm not sure, but I know that they've recently changed it to where you can't be completely anonymous. So you have to leave your information, right? They're not, they can't disclose your information, but you have to leave your information if you're going to make a report. Before, you could just call, not say anything at all. Just, hey, there's some crazy ish going on over there. They being the church, because that's kind of exactly what happened to me, right? They went to the extreme of the things that they were saying, and it was so extreme that when they came to my home, it was like, yeah, this is definitely a lie because it's so extreme, and then it happened so much, like kept calling, like, and they know that because when the calls come in back to back, they sound the same, right? And eventually she would tell her name. They know that that's false. They're not even given a chance to investigate, so they started to see that, and eventually they found it to be malicious. But I'm glad that now you have to leave your information, so if they find it to be false, they can get back to the people, because it is a crime here in the state of New York, right? They have to investigate. Anyway, that's a scary thing, because you can get a bad caseworker, right? So if somebody calls and you get a bad caseworker, they can make things very difficult for you. And for anyone who may find themselves in this situation, because it can happen to anyone. Doesn't matter your financial background, your race. It doesn't matter. I've spoken to multimillionaires, right down to people who don't have a pot to piss, and that it's happened to. So I'm just saying that it doesn't matter. But if you find yourself in that situation, for one, when they come knocking on your door, you don't have to let them in unless they have the police. They have a warrant, in which case, as long as it's a valid warrant, right? It's a valid warrant, not a rolled up piece of paper like in training day. You have to let them in. But if not, you don't have to let them in, especially if you don't know who they are. Like with me, they came at 12 o'clock at night, two big dudes, no real identification, no cops, nothing. I didn't know who they were. We were just threatened by the people who called them. So you don't have to let them in, right? If it's at night, I would call the cops first, and then wait till the next day. If you maybe believe that it was CPS, call and say, hey, is CPS kind of my house? Or, just want to make sure, or whatever. And then if you feel that it's malicious, and you know who it is, you have reason to suspect that person, I would say file a police report, right? File a police report so you can start logging and having a paper trail. Okay. And when they do come to your house, you don't have to let them speak to your children alone. You don't. You have rights, and I would contact an attorney right away, which we did in our case. I have my attorney who's, been my attorney for a while. So that's what I would do, But again, if you choose to let them in, you don't have to let them speak to the kids. You do have to, show that the kids present the kids, physically present them, show that they're in good condition, right? So, and again, if you, in the event you suspect there's someone that's doing it falsely, I would file a police report, and even try to get an order of protection if it's a family member from family court, So it's a crime to make a false report, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $10,000 fine, right? And I knew, like, again, I knew who it was because the night that happened, it was my aunt who started texting my wife a bunch of nasty stuff, and she ended with, "I hope you can get some sleep tonight." Right? That's what she ended it with, and I was like, "What is they gonna?" I thought, they're gonna fight me or something. Somebody gonna come to my house or something. I hope you can sleep tonight. That sounded threatening, and then of course CPS came banging on my door. So that's a scary thing. My kids were scared. Oh wow, it's a really traumatizing experience, and I hope that no one has to go through that, especially if they're innocent. I mean, if they didn't do it, I really hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, CPS. I'm going to be speaking to families who have had issues, not necessarily just with CPS, but specifically with the corrupt judges, corrupt attorneys that operate within the family courts, because it's a whole system, right? CPS first comes into the home. They see if there is any potential abuse going on. They pull the kids out, and you have to go through the whole court system now, right? You have to go in front of a judge or not a judge. And, one of my guests is going to explain and break it down exactly what they really are. He's saying it's not technically like a judge or a real court, and I'll let them come and explain that. It's very interesting. But they pull the kids out. Then if you get a corrupt judge, which is a very real thing, they assign an individual that's known as the law guardian. If in the event the child or children cannot, come up with an attorney on their own. That happens many times, however, because statistically, those who are impacted, a majority anyway, not all the time, majority of the people impacted by CPS family courts cannot afford to hire an attorney. They can't afford it. So they're going to have a law guardian many times assigned to their case. And it's a very lucrative business for these attorneys. These are private attorneys, right, who have connections with judges. And if they're going to say, "Hey, judge, toss me some cases," right? And they make money that way. So it's a racketeering thing. They're all making money, and they're dealing in kids. Now, if for whatever reason they find that you're unfit, they put them into the foster care system. And that's a whole nother money making scheme in of itself, right? And I'll explain about that also, as well as how they make money, how these foster care agencies make money off each kid. I just want to skip a little bit because I don't really want to talk about my incidents, But anyway, so I want to talk about the people I'm going to be coming on. I'm not going to mention their names or nothing like that, but they have these, tremendous stories, heartbreaking stories. It's crazy. It's unbelievable, but it's true. And if you guys have been following me, the podcast, it's not no surprise. Corruption. It's all corruption, right? All corruption. So it seems like it's a pattern. And we're going to be talking about this pattern because the pattern happens to the similar pattern to all the families, right? And I say that we are building an army because we're working together. We're building an army of parents who have exhausted all avenues and resources available to appeal their false cases handled by corrupt judges and lawyers. They have realized they have to speak out and expose these individuals, and now they're fighting back. That's it. And I'm telling folks, I've learned this. You can try to contact the DA, you go to the police, and they kick you back and forth like a ping pong, like a soccer ball. And nothing happens. Not until you start speaking out. My wife got in the Yonkers voice. That's when they started to move. I started to record and document everything. That's when I started to catch them in lies. And that's what we have to do. We have to be savvy, and we have to stick together, and we have to speak out. We have to expose them, right? So these guests are going to be coming on Basement Politics to discuss the horrors they've been through. They have, endured tremendous, abuse from these individuals, but they've done a tremendous job of documenting, researching, and educating themselves, because that's what's important. You have to educate yourself, right? I've learned all about this. My wife also, even though she's a social worker, but she learned a lot, right? And these individuals are learning a lot as well about how the process works. But more importantly, they're not just learning about the process, they're learning about the people behind this whole systemic, child abduction, if you will, ring that's going on, right? Some are participating in it, others are turning a blind eye in order to generate these high salaries that they make as, judges and these law guardians who get paid per the cases, right? And many times they get a handle on people's finances and assets and they control them, like in the Britney Spears case. And many times they steal money, they steal property because they're in total control of these individuals and they're adults and they have no control over their lives. So, this has to stop and it needs to be exposed. So that's why we're getting together. People are reaching out to other victims because they are victims of these, corrupt criminals, right? And unfortunately, we like to think that judges are impartial, that they, honest, they hold, all they have all this integrity, but that's not always the case. Many times individuals are ambitious. They want to rise up. They want to make salary. They want to go from attorney to judge. And we see that here in Yonkers, right? In the judges races. We see it. A judge, a city court judge here in the city of Yonkers is making $200,000 a year. How much are they working? Right? Yeah. In many cases, I say the scam, because I call it a scam, is quite simple. Locate a family where there is either potential abuse or a family that appears to be an easy target, right? Because they pick on like immigrants, non-English speaking family, poor individuals, they pick on them as easy targets for their lucrative foster care system that for the most part deals in children. It does. In order to get a child into the foster care system, once they pull them out, right, they have to find some reason. So they could find something, anything. And this is why my wife was very scared. And I was naive because I'm like, honey, why are you so scared? My wife, I had to, try and calm her down literally for 3 days. Literally 3 days. She was concerned that they were going to take our kids. And I'm just like, honey, we got nothing to worry about. Baby, relax. It's nothing to, we don't look at, everything is great. Our kids, we do everything right, right? Or at least we like to think. But in my research and digging deeper, I realized that they could have taken them. It doesn't matter. People have been, the model parents and still have had their kids taken away. And so we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be bringing you individuals who have had it happen to them. They're going to present the facts. They got everything documented. So they target individuals, who may have potential signs of abuse or something, like as one case where the family had 7 kids. One of them was anorexic. And so they took all 7 kids because one was anorexic. But if one was struggling with what they say is a mental health issue, why take all 7 kids? And that man fought back hard and he got his kids back. So we need to fight. And I'm going to help. And we're going to fight and we're going to expose these people because this is a scam. And this is what it really appears to be all about, making money. And we're going to talk about specifically one individual. One, I'm not going to mention his name until I bring on my guest, but we're going to talk about one specific law guardian individual, right, that are assigned by these corrupt judges, right? These are individuals known as law guardians. They're assigned by the court in the event that a child or an adult, for whatever reason, cannot obtain an attorney on their own. Right. So here's the kicker. Statistically, most people going through this, like I said, going through this nightmare are people who can't afford to get their own attorney. So the volume, a high rate that a law guardian is assigned to, a case, it's a high rate, I should say. So they're making money. They're constantly getting cases. It's big business for them. And so, and there are private attorneys with private law firms. Some of them are located in White Plains. Some of them have the most horrible reviews. If you go on my page, you can see what I'm talking about. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that individual tomorrow because everyone seems to have the same experience with this guy. Same experience. It's very important that if you find yourself in this situation and they are going to assign a law guardian to your child or you, for whatever, that, you make sure that you get someone that, doesn't have this guy's reputation. You got to make sure. It's very important. Very, very important, right? I was speaking with someone today who's going to be coming on the show, and they're reaching out, to other individuals, gathering people together to show just how, crazy this thing is. And she mentions the person the law guardian to this other person on the phone, and the first thing that person says, "Oh, that's an evil man. That's an evil man." That's the first thing that the person said. And that's what you see on reviews there on the website, on the internet, I should say. So if this individual has this horrible reputation, why are judges in family court assigning this guy? Why? Right? Does it? So we're going to expose not only the law guardian, but also the judges as well. There's a lot of you crazy, corrupt judges. Guys, yeah, we'll be talking all about it. So, I want to just kind of, do part one, just kind of like a little introduction into what are we going to be talking about and the people that I'm going to be bringing on to the podcast to talk about their cases. And they're very heartbreaking. They really are heartbreaking. And I can't wait to bring them on because, I know in my experience that making this, making people aware of this, speaking out, identifying the individuals, presenting documentation, and all supporting evidence, video recordings, audio recordings, and letting as many people know is the only way to fight back. They are all in cahoots. Many of them in cahoots. They all know each other from law school. They all hung out at one point. You got lawyers aspiring to become judges. They're not trying to ruffle any feathers for some poor family that they don't care about. They see this day in and day out. They just go through the motions. Each day they go into that courtroom. However, for you, it's hell. And they don't care. So we're going to expose them. And we're not going to care. But it goes deeper than that. It goes deep into human and child trafficking and pedophilia. That's right, pedophilia. Are some of these kids being pulled away out of their homes and being put into foster care to be put with pedophiles? And are pedophiles involved in helping do this? Are they in the system, working within the system? There seems to be a pattern, especially with one individual who seems to defend a lot of pedophiles, admitted pedophiles, documented pedophiles. And like I said in one post, who would protect a pedophile and risk their career and potentially going to jail doing so? Well, another pedophile. We have to be careful who we are allowing engage our children or operating within any agencies, institution, anywhere there's kids. And that's why I out pedophiles. I outed that pedophile. You know who. And we're going to continue to do so. I'm Freddie Vass. This is Basement Politics. I'm going to have the guest on tomorrow. It's going to be a little different. I'm not actually going to be in the basement. I'm going to be taking the show out of the basement. I'm going to be somewhere else on location, so to speak. And we're going to be discussing this person's case specifically, but the individuals are the same. My guests are having to deal with the same person. And there's a pattern there. And we're going to break it down. We're going to expose it. We're going to talk about it. And if you have had problems with CPS, the family courts, foster care system, law guardians, specifically ones from White Plains, or have addresses at Dobbs Ferry, let me know. I want to speak to you. We want to speak to you. Reach out to me at politic or politics. Politic or politics. It doesn't matter. politicswithfred@gmail.com. I want to hear from you. So I know there's a lot of people out there. I know, because you guys have reached out to me, and I want to get as many people on the show, many people to share their stories so we can make some change. It's time that the people start to fight back. I'm Freddie Basswood. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Make sure you join tomorrow because I'm going to have the guest on, and I really want to make that a big show because, I want everyone to hear her story, and then I'm going to have another set of family and guests, and I want everyone to hear their story. I want everyone to know who these individuals are. Pedos protect pedos. It's huge business. Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's really what it seems like. I can't believe, what I'm hearing from the families. It's almost like that that doesn't even make sense. But it happened. It happened. People protect people. And unfortunately, many of these lawyers, attorneys, I should say judges, even elected officials, they're just detached from the everyday people. They are. There's some of them are super wealthy. They're on another level, another world, away from us peasants in this feudal system that we really live in. We're a bunch of serfs. Serfs and peasants. That's what they say. I've heard this language used by individuals who are very wealthy. That's really what some of them think of us. It's spoken, I promise you. Peasants, serfs. It's a feudal system we live in. It's all about the green. That's the only color that matters. It's not black or white. Only the 99% think it is. The 1% know it's only about the green, the almighty dollar. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Join me tomorrow, and let's show some support to the guests because they really need it, and we got to make some change. Thank you, folks. I'm out of here. Enjoy your rest of your evening.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Let's get it popping.
Thank you, folks, for joining me. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Join me tomorrow. Let's talk about CPS some more. If you have issues with CPS, family courts, the foster care system, reach out to us. Reach out to me at politicswithfred@gmail.com. Listen, folks, some individual may be concerned because they don't want speaking out affect their, decision, and that's totally understandable. But if you had a pattern with, decisions going against you, decision after decision going against you, at this point, it doesn't matter if you speak out. Most likely the decision is going to go against you anyway. So the only way to stop this is to speak out. Put them on blast. Let the world know. These individuals are corrupt. They're stealing children. Join me tomorrow. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Mr. Newswire, I posted the address, the documentation that states that the Hezi Media Inc. Was registered at 10 Palisades Avenue. That's all. It's a fact. It's a fact. Those guys are done. They're so mad that they're done. We gotta bring. Listen, I was talking to somebody today. I'm sorry. I was talking to somebody today, and I said, I don't want to insult nobody. I don't know how to say this. How do I say this? Our city, for the most part, and I don't want to generalize, okay? The city of Yonkers, for the most part, is operated and managed. Not everybody. I'm talking about the people at the top that by some individuals that do not, how do I say this, have the highest IQ. And I just started to think this is unbelievable that certain individuals are in positions of the positions that they're in. I mean, I don't understand it. It's time we change that. It's really, we need to get more individuals there that, it's time we, it's just crazy to me. I was just thinking about it. I'm sorry. It's just crazy. It's a bunch of fools. You're a bunch of fools. Seriously, stop having that guy write stuff about me. Stop having the Yonkers voice. Let's get these folks out. Let's bring some integrity back to the city. Please, we need some integrity. Let's bring it back to our politics, our media, our news, our city, our community, everything. Bring some integrity back, some intelligence back.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!